the technical limitations of their ability to set something up. So I would say if you've got other options like Midjourney and some of the other ones, I'd say that's probably a much easier implementation. But it is cool once you get it started.
Tom explained it like butter on bread, like really easy. So I'm gonna give it a try as well. So I'm gonna dive into that. My only concern was storage, but once I get that handled, I'll be in there like swimwear because I do actually like the images on Stable Diffusion for sure.
I just wanted to add a helpful tip. This is Carrie. I'm a professional photographer who I'm a master photographer and knows imaging. Spent my whole career with file size and all the things. And what a helpful tip would be is to get an external hard drive, and you can get it for a really good one, LaCie, or there's several other brands that you can get on Amazon for $100, 4 terabytes worth of storage. So then you can just have that separate from your desktop. And I've done this for a long, long time. Ben is an expert in Midjourney, and he's created, I've paid him for years to create images for me that are unbelievable. And I agree, as a professional photographer, some of the stuff is way over my pay grade.
Yeah, it was definitely a great presentation time. I definitely enjoyed it as far as your passion in it. And I know some things are technical for some.
Did I lose audio?
Download these things, in general, and be able to create their own, language models out of Stable Diffusion. Definitely more technical, but somebody out there want to create their own Midjourney type of company, and they can't. Only way they can do it is utilize open source tools like Stable Diffusion and those LoRa's that you was talking about. That was the key to the LoRa's. Somebody probably skipped over it a little bit, but so I appreciate your presentation.
Right, this is awesome. All right, well, Tom, thank you again so much for making this sound like Legos to me, like plug and play. So I'm definitely going to look forward to giving this a try. We have Justin coming up next, and he will be talking to us about Firebringer, and definitely want to make sure that he is ready to go. Are you good? Okay, good. He is on Club.
I am ready to go.
Awesome. And Debbie will stream you over into Chatter so that you don't have to be in.
Ready to do that right now.
Okay. I want to say that there's been a lot of good information today. We've had a lot of good insight and views into AI and how it works. What I am, Justin with the orange beard, for those that don't know me, if you're on Clubhouse, you see my bright orange beard. I'm the founder of Firebringer AI. We are bringing the technology of the elite to the common workers. So we build AI agents. We actually started building these AI tools before agent was really the term for them. But just to give you a quick overview, an agent is an AI system that acts autonomously within its environment. So there's 2 types. There's passive and active. Passive would be your customer service bot. Somebody says, hey, I need help. And that's when it kicks in and utilizes AI. Active is when you turn it on and it runs for itself. That would be something like an outbound emailer, outbound cold caller, where you flip a couple of switches and it just goes ahead and runs through a process. They are task oriented. They are pretty much going to do one thing. They're just going to do it very well if you build them right. Now, there are functionalities like something that can interact with your browser. So it can go through your browser and do the things you would do, which is something I was hoping we could do about 3-4 years ago. Just a little background. I come from sales. I don't come from tech. I am not a technological person. I have an Android phone, and I'm going to keep it that way. But I do know enough about the way these systems work and the way computers work to be able to see what's coming down the pipeline. Most people, like I said, have not prompted ChatGPT. Most people have not ever done an API call, which is a back-end thing, to get it to do way more stuff than you realize it can do. And you can learn to do those, and you should learn to do those. There's YouTube tutorials. Debbie, if you're going to try and do a local hosted open source tool, I would recommend a YouTube tutorial on standby so that you can walk yourself through as you run into challenges, because it gets a little tricky. But the AI agents that we build are very simple. Most of them are active. So we've got our cold calling tool. You load up your CSV list, your spreadsheet of contacts with their names and whatever information, turn it on, it dials, makes the call, has the conversation, gives you a report on the conversation, summarizes into your CRM, all of that. We've got an email tool that does personalized email at scale, a chatbot that does direct messages on LinkedIn. All of these are dynamic. We don't believe using templates. We actually give the bot or the AI training data on sales. So it is a master salesperson. Like Dora Maria was saying, you want to give it a good prompt, and you do want to give it a role. And not just a role, but make it a high level role. So instead of you're a sales rep, you're a master sales rep. Instead of a copywriter, you're a genius copywriter. That's going to actually get you a little more oomph out of what you're putting out. And then you can always have it level up. When it gives you a response, say, this is a level 1 response, give me a level 4 to really amp it up. And what Matt was saying actually about, like, you want to put it in your voice, you can actually program. I've got my chat GPT to know Justin's voice. So I'll have it create an output for a blog entry or something, and then say, run that through Justin's voice, and that will work. Failure guy, I'm doing something a little more advanced than GPTs, but essentially they're agents that are functioning off of multiple assistants. To get into the technical details, which I'm going to try and avoid, because again, most people have not used AI. There seems to be a perception that AI is technical and hard and difficult to understand. And it's like, do you know how to take apart and put together your transmission? Do you know how to drive your car? Those are the differences. If you can figure out how to drive a car, you can figure out how to use AI. You don't need to understand all the back end stuff to use it. I do have to have a little more understanding, but I can't write a lick of code. I have Claude write code for me. I have Perplexity do my research, and there was a lot of value in understanding that there are different tools that have different things of value. Perplexity is great for research. Claude is great. I actually like Claude for writing code, for chunks of code that I need to alter things, because I can't code. I like ChatGPT for most things, but I have some automations that run a ChatGPT output through a Claude output. In doing these tools and building these tools and keeping an eye on the industry, we actually see what's coming next. And that's kind of what I want to talk to you about today. Because while generative AI seems really cool and it is getting more and more powerful and it's getting better, we're only going to get marginally better versions of generative AI. We're going to come to a point where we see what's called AGI, or artificial general intelligence, where it is actually capable of learning in the way that a human learns. And when that happens, we are going to have another paradigm shift. And it's going to make generative AI look like rubbing two sticks together to start a campfire, whereas AGI is like using a high-powered laser to start a campfire. It's a totally different level of technology. And my suspicion is that AGI is going to happen when we truly integrate machine learning and artificial intelligence programming onto systems called quantum computing systems. Now, quantum gets a little weird and some people don't understand it. And most people who have heard of it don't understand it. But just give you a quick instant overview of quantum. Quantum means very small. It does not mean giant. It means very small. So a quantum leap is leaping into the small space between matter. Quantum is the stuff that makes up stuff. So the atoms that are the smallest units of matter are actually made up of lots and lots of quantum materials, waves and energy. Now, they're recently discovering that we have quantum functions in our biology. There is requirements, quantum tunneling that is required for enzyme production within our own bodies. We have quantum tunneling in our brains, which may be responsible for experiences like remote viewing and ESP and precognition, where there has been some scientific evidence that it was way more accurate than it should have been. Birds use a quantum function in their eyes to see the magnetic poles so that they never get lost, even when flying over terrain that is constantly changing and very large and generalized. So we have all those elements in our bodies, and quantum computing is the ability to compute on qubits. Now, I'll give you a quick breakdown. A bit is either 1 or 0. It's either on or off. A qubit can be in superposition, where it's 1, 0, 1 and 0, both 1 and 0, neither 1 or 0, and all 1 and 0, both 1, 0, not 1, 0, all at the same time, which breaks the brain because we're used to regular physics, but these qubit systems work. One of the hindrances with these quantum systems is that they require very, very cold, very, very quiet, very, very dark, because any waves, sound waves, vibration, heat waves that interact with the qubits will throw them off. But they just recently discovered that they can link up two types of particles, a light particle and a sound particle, and make them more resistant to wave interference. So we may, maybe 5 years down the road, have quantum computers that can operate within relatively warm temperatures. So maybe down the road, we have a quantum cell phone instead of a smartphone. And quantum is way, way faster, way, way more powerful. And I honestly and sincerely believe that when we start running machine language programs on quantum systems, we are going to see artificial general intelligence. We are going to see AI that becomes capable of thinking and learning the way that a human does, because that qubit allows for a consciousness vibration like ours, alpha, beta, theta, delta waves that our brain puts out. It will be able to do that too. Now, I know this is fairly advanced and this is fairly futuristic, but it is what's coming down the pipe. And for those that are not already playing with ChatGPT or Claude, you are way behind now, because we are talking 3 to 5 years before quantum computing reaches the stage where we see machine learning being put on it and quantum AI systems. That's where we're going to have really, really, really smart AI, because within our company and within some of my friends and family, we constantly reference how stupid the AI can be, right? Everybody knows it hallucinates. If you've heard, throw a 1 in your chat. Throw a 1 in the chat if you heard that AI hallucinates. I will tell you that you can control for that hallucinating. So when people talk about AI hallucinating, it is less and less as the systems have evolved. But it's also very, very, very easy to control for now. You can practically eliminate it. Besides ChatGPT and Claude, use others like Gemini and Copilot. I do use several different systems, but I stick to ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, and then I do like Notebook LM. But because what I do is less dependent on the AI specifically, the large language model, there are tools that I use like Windsurf, Bolt, Make, these places where I can link these tools together with the AI. So I'm sure many of you know about like a chatbot like MiniChat, where it's, if you put this in the comment, my chatbot will automatically trigger to message you. Those are always scripted, right? You always have to type out what that chatbot says. Except you can actually integrate MiniChat and several other chatbots with an AI system so that it's a dynamic conversation, and you can have that dynamic conversation chatbot actually able to write and read from a CRM so that it has a memory. It's kind of a workaround to it having an actual memory, but it will allow it to remember that conversation and engage in that conversation further with that person if they visit a second, third, fourth time. You can do this with voice AI. One of my favorite things to do with voice AI as a salesperson, as somebody who comes from a background of sales, is role play with my ChatGPT. On my phone, I open up ChatGPT, I push the little advanced voice model. You are the CEO of a Fortune 5000 in this industry, and we are having a discussion about this solution. I'm going to role play it with you. and then we role play back and forth. And once I complete the role play, I say, give me a strengths and weaknesses assessment, because I can always use it to improve. I and understand, as a 22-year sales veteran, being able to have something give me strengths and weaknesses that I'm like, yeah, you're right on that weakness, is rare, is very rare. So it's good. And like I said, you can control for the hallucinations with these large language models. You have to give it prompting this. It's doable. The image creation, Fusion is really good. Stable Diffusion has a couple of open source models running it that are a little more easy to use interface wise. I use one called Focus. We used 11 labs in the beginning for voice, and we figured out voice cloning. One of the problems with voice cloning is that it's not really inflective, it's very flat. But my old radio school training, I learned that if you slow your delivery down on the recordings you're giving it for the voice clone, and you exaggerate every inflection, you get a really consistent inflective tone. It sounds more human. And these are things that are not related to the AI's programming so much as the way that we're feeding it the data. Because if you increase the inflection when you're giving it an audio recording to clone, it's going to start to understand this is where the inflection is, because it's more noticeable. They've got all sorts of mood systems, mood detectors in voice models now. We're looking at implementing some of those, but I still have to keep an eye on the quantum systems and what those are doing. And if you guys have not looked into it, it is the next big phase. It is AI in 2020. It is Facebook in 2001. Like, these are the next big models are going to come out of quantum computing systems. And when those finally do hit, we need to be prepared for it. And that's kind of where you should have one eye on the future, one ear open towards what's happening as you're doing the things that you're doing now. And if you're not using AI right now, if you're scared because I'm not a technical person, I don't know technology, you don't know how to take apart your transmission, but you can drive your car. It's the same thing. Kind of concluded the information I wanted to provide today. Again, my company, Firebringer AI, does outbound calling, email. We have a smart autoresponder, so that'll actually engage your customers back and forth in email sequences. We also have a social media marketing tool that does your social media content, blog posts with SEO, on-page and off-page backlinks, all of that. It's been really effective internally. I think we're 3 weeks into having submitted our sitemap, and we're ranking for 64 keywords. We've got 8 of them on the front page, and 2 of them are constantly in the #1 spot. So, like, there's a lot of value to just having something that does the work consistently, because humans are better at the job, but they also have bad days. They also have failures. They also drop the ball. And they also have work they don't like doing. I was a professional cold caller for 22 years. And when I saw Google Assistant schedule a haircut appointment, I'm like, well, my job's about to be automated away. There's not too many steps between that and what I do. And what I did was say, I need to build that automation. And so I did. And I built the first tool that actually sells itself, because it will sell you that I'm an AI representative for an AI company that sells AI representatives. And it took a lot of work and a long time, and only really got as good as it did because of the consistent improvement within the technologies that are being put out as vendors. So with that, I'm going to land my plane. I am Justin with the Orange Beard. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. And I do appreciate everybody else who went before me and gave some really good stuff that I definitely got use out of.
I have a question. So this is Carrie. I am fascinated with AI, and I love it, and I know that it's coming down the pike, and I'm watching it like I watched the change in digital photography when we went from film-based to digital. And if you didn't learn, you were out of business. And so 50% of the photography industry went away. And I stayed, but I had to do a lot of hard work to stay in business. If I wanted to work and get involved in AI and get a job or an internship, say an internship for my daughter, what would those steps look like?
An internship is you would follow the same basic process with any internship. You know, you'd go through and look for companies that are looking for interns. You'd apply for an internship. You'd cold outreach to companies you specifically wanted to intern, or you wanted your daughter to intern with, or she wanted to intern with, because you got to think of AI as an industry and not a magic thing, right? It looks magic sometimes, but it's not. The AI large language models do not understand the words they're putting out. They understand that this collection of words statistically goes together, and it's a good response for statistically these other collection of words that we were given. So, how did you say you link the AI's Windsurf? Windsurf IDE is one of the tools. I also use Make. Make is probably the heaviest tool, just to answer that before he had to bounce out. But you think of it as an industry, the thing that's going to be a differentiator for most people in this industry is, have you played with it? Now, if you're looking on the programming side, you're going to want to know things like Python and Django and maybe some neural networks and things of that nature. But if you're looking to just get into the industry in a different way than programming, it should be more about what value you can bring to a company. And if you know how to use the AI systems, if you played with them, there's a career path that will be short-lived, I think, called prompt engineering, where basically you're really good at telling the AI what to do. That's it. I don't think it's all that fancy a task, because I don't use a lot of markdown in my prompting, and I still get good outputs. I'm just very detailed and thorough in what I tell it. But that element of prompt engineering is something that so many companies are looking for right now. And as we go into promptless AI, that will probably go away mostly, but there's still some availability for that. There's still some availability for people who are willing to train AIs. There are companies that are looking for people to train their AI on data, whether it's voice data or mood data or visual data, and all that requires is interacting with these tools. So hope that answers your question, Carrie.
Yeah, I'd totally be into that, because my friend Ben has taught me so many different ways to prompt that I didn't, like, we do these experiments where he'll say, okay, this is how a regular, like the everyday person is going to put in the question. And then he has like 10 different creative ways of putting in the question, and the results are like unbelievable. And so that's where the difference is the experience on being, like, the experience being someone who prompts ChatGPT, someone who spends time on it. It's like anything, right? I'm a podcaster. I've done it for almost 5 years. I've learned a lot about the industry because I do it every day. So it's one of those things. Very cool information.
Awesome. And Justin, just a question for you and Firebringer. I'm trying to wrap my head around, because I'm a visual person, so I need to like visually see something. How does it get set up? Like, in that you're saying it's automation, it's using some AI, so can you like bring it down to like how does that get set up?
So we initially launched it as like a SaaS platform where you could go in and operate it yourself. And we made it as easy as possible because, like I said, I'm not a technical person. And even our basic phone system, which was click upload your file, click automate, click start, that process was too much for most of our clients to even sit down and do. So we basically started running it as a service. So the setup now is roughly a 45-minute call with me or my one representative, getting your information, getting the system set up for you. And then we do like 1 to 2 days of test runs so that we can make sure that everything's adhering to brand guidelines and making sure we're getting the right messaging across. And then we go ahead and launch the campaign. We launched the social media first so that it can start building some brand awareness. We drip out the emails so that we don't get any kind of spam flags. And then once the emails start going out and we start getting some responses, that's when we trigger the tool, the phone tool. They all are branded independently. So there's Brand Forge, which is your social media and SEO. Lead Forge, which is the emails and direct messages on social media. And then there's Call Forge, which actually does the call. All of those together are Growth Inferno. And Growth Inferno is a service. It is run entirely by us on our systems. We just make sure it adheres to your needs and your wants as far as messaging. We monitor it, we message it, manage it. But the key element, and I think Matt kind of brought this up, like getting something to stick to your brand guidelines is something people worry about, but it's actually fairly easy. All you have to do is feed that GPT assistant, feed that bot your brand guidelines, give it that information. And then you'll find that as you run these iterations, run these tests over and over again, even with the information, it'll get it wrong the first few times, and then it'll start to get it right, and then it will be consistent. So that's part of the reason why we do the testing early on, to make sure that we're not putting out anything bad. But like I said, the setup is 45-minute call with me or one of my reps to make sure that we have the right information, and then 2 to 3 days of back and forth. Hey, does this look good? Because the original setup was literally you go to our URL for the app, log in, upload your script, turn on the automation, turn on the start button, and it does the things for you. And getting people to actually use that and operate that system was like pulling hen's teeth.
And you're saying that when AGI gets implemented, what is that impact?
That is we don't know. Literally, we cannot predict what that will look like. We can make some educated guesses, such as we give the same kind of information to the AGI system, and the AGI system doesn't even need to be turned on. It knows what to do, and it does it. That's again, but that's still speculative because we do not know what AGI is actually going to look like. We just know that it's going to be light years ahead of current generative AI technology.
Okay, I feel like it's going to be more behavior driven, right? Because it's going to be able to understand the human behavior patterns. It's going to have learned them. It's going to have learned some of not just different ways to handle different problems in certain situations. It's going to be a lot closer to human behavior. That's the way I'm seeing AGI pretty much lining itself up.
Well, that's going to depend on if at any point it simulates or replicates something such as emotions, morality, and ethics, things that are internal to humans that cannot be necessarily codified. But that is a possibility. Like I said, we genuinely do not know what AGI is going to look like. We have some speculative, educated guesses. But until that first AGI system hits and it's like, oh, this is it, it's not really going to be something we can accurately predict because it is so far out of what we have now. All of the things that we speculate are based on what we have now, and it's going to be an entirely different system and model, if that makes sense.
No, it does. I was just curious on the set because I haven't seen it, but I'm looking forward to playing with it. Anyone else have any other questions for Justin?
I have
Mary?
a question for Mia.
Go ahead.
Hi, thank you so much for allowing me to ask the question. If an organization has already have a system where they use email marketing, so will your system integrate with the system that they have, or will your system supersede? So is your system an email marketing platform, or will they already have one? Would that work?
So we can actually set up either. We have a lot of native integrations through our tools, but most tools now have some sort of webhook or Zapier or API call that would allow us to integrate directly with them. I will tell you that I actually don't use systems like MailChimp or Aweber or anything like that for our email system. I use it direct through my email just because things that track opens and things that track link clicks, excuse me, those actually decrease the deliverability. There's a recent update to Google Mail servers that basically said if the little pixel or picture that is triggered opens is open notifications. It tracks if somebody opened that email. If that thing is in the email, we will deliver it to the spam folder or block it entirely. And because of that, and because of the fact that we do AI outreach, I just try to limit how much I'm at risk for spam. But we could absolutely integrate with those systems or systems that are already built into CRMs, since we can integrate with CRMs like High Level or Salesforce or HubSpot or Zoho, so that it's all communicating back and forth. And it's just a matter of personal preference of how you want it to look more than how you want it to function, because the functionality is essentially the same either way. But there's your ability to see and track and understand what you're looking at versus what's actually happening, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. So then, do you recommend then just to go with your system for functionality to make sure that it, does what it's supposed to do in the manner? Because I definitely understand, because I know an organization that I work with, we use like Constant Contact, and they use a lot of, it does the click, it checks on the number of clicks and things, and sometimes that can cause people to unsubscribe and all of that for different reasons. So I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I would actually say that maybe do some sort of hybrid where maybe the initial email to new prospects or new markets is sent through a direct system, and then after that it goes into a system that's more trackable, so that you can at least get one or two opens first that are organic. And my answer to, like, well, if you can't track the emails, what do you do then? My answer is that the only metric that really matters on email tracking is if somebody responded or if somebody set an appointment. Like, anything else is good information to have, but it's wholesale irrelevant in the actual process of getting sales. And while I can target those people who opened but didn't respond, or opened 5 times but didn't respond, because AI is doing the cold phone outreach and the direct messaging and the emails and all of that, it's not labor intensive. There's not actually value in reducing the target size to just those people that engaged in such and such, because it takes the same amount of effort to send 500 emails as it does to 5 at this point for how our systems work, and they're personalized to each individual as it sends them.
Thank you for your response.
Absolutely. Any other questions? Then I will say I'm Justin with the Orange Beard, and that's my time.
Awesome. Thank you so